What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Thank you guys so much for coming to hang out with me today. I do appreciate you being here for this video. Today we're going to do a little bit of a build tutorial for the Cozy Cabin book Nook that I built in my latest episode on the Cozy Cabin Minecraft server. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. I'll put a link up in the top right corner for that. But we're going to try to do a little build tutorial video here to give you guys an idea sort of the process that goes through my head when I'm building these types of things, and you know how I kind of went along step by step how to build this beautiful little cozy library bookstore for my Minecraft multiplayer server. So to get things started, when I'm building something like this in Minecraft, the first thing I like to do is go ahead and pick out a little bit of a block palette. So for this one, I decided to go with two main colors here with kind of a black and a white, sort of a grayscale combination. And then I thought this polished basalt here in the middle was a really good transition, so I decided to pick that for my center support. So usually when I'm doing this, I like to just go into a creative testing world, you know, similar to I am here, and just scroll through the building blocks and look for things of different, you know, textures with similar colors and try to get a little bit of variation. So over here we've got the polished black stone, we've got some black concrete. Along the bottom here I used a little bit of a row of polished black stone bricks, and I think I used some of these stone bricks as well along the foundation around the outside. And for the other side we went with a little bit of polished diorite, the bone blocks, which give a little bit of variation in that white color, as well as a little bit of texture, and then some white concrete along with the smooth stone slabs. So just going ahead and picking some colors, you know, 2 or 3 different types of blocks to blend in with your walls, and then maybe like an accent color or support structure of some kind is always a good place to start. Once I've got my colors picked out, I go ahead and start out with the basic structure of the building. So for this one, I believe I just started out with a few pillars here and decided I was going to do a 5 wide entrance and then bring that back a few blocks. And I think originally I had only planned to do about 3 here on this building, and then I decided to extend it a little bit further, and then I moved this other block into the middle here. So this is how I got kind of the initial structure here, was planning out where these support pillars were going to go. And I don't remember. Yeah, so we only did a 5 wide space in the middle. So when you're doing these kinds of spacings, you got to remember that if this is going to be the support pillar, you're also going to have blocks on the inside here. So you got to account for that much. I spaced that wrong. So when you're laying out these pillars, you got to remember that if you're going to have some extra depth in your walls, you have to have these additional spaces in here. So you got to remember you're taking up 2 blocks for that, and then your inside is only going to be 3 blocks of space. So when you're planning out the structure on the outside and where these posts are going to be, make sure to add a little bit of extra space so that you can have some thickness in your walls, which gives you a little bit more opportunity for depth, which always adds a little bit of extra. So we got a little bit of an idea how thick our walls are going to be here, and then I think I just decided from this center support pillar we're going to do a 3 block space here, and then I'm going to go and do a 7 block space here. So I like to use odd numbers when I'm building in Minecraft just because it gives you a little bit more opportunity for different peaks and things like that, but it kind of depends on what you're building. So then on this side I decided to go back with a 7 block space here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll put 1 more right there. And then I just kind of lined this up with the other side and did the same thing over here. So we'll do a 3 block gap there, come back 7 blocks here, puts that in the right spot. And then I just decided arbitrarily a couple spots here where I would want the other supports to be, so I could have this 3 block gap in the middle, which I thought would be nice for some windows. I do the same thing on this side, and then I believe over here I just matched up the supports on the other side. So as you can see here, we got that 5 block gap in the middle, and then another couple 3 block gap spots for our nice windows. And with this one, I did plan to have the first floor entrance be on one side here, and then having this second floor entrance on this side. So that was also something a little bit different with this one because we built it into a hill. Now once I had all these center support pillars down, I went and just built these all up just a little bit. And raising up all these pillars kind of gives you an idea to set how tall you want your walls to be. So I believe in here, I decided I want like a 4 or maybe that's a 5 block gap roof on the inside. So kind of deciding how tall you want the inside of the building to be, as well as what it's going to look like from the outside. So once you got all your pillars rose up, then I went ahead and I did a whole layer of these bricks along the bottom here on the inside, just to give kind of a nice foundation layer. Even though you don't really see it in a lot of places, I think it's kind of nice to add that little bit of touch to the foundation to show a little bit more maybe of structural support with that layer of blocks. Once we got that in, this is the part that some people might seem to be a little bit tricky, but it's actually quite simple. Essentially, I've got the 2 blocks I picked from our block pile over here, and I just went ahead and randomly placed these along throughout the area here. You know, it's okay to have a couple of the same block next to each other, but every once in a while you just kind of flip back and forth, you know, switch between the 2 different blocks, and sometimes you have some of the same ones that go together, and you can kind of just randomly go down the line all the way around until you get all the way up to the height you want to be at. Once you get your walls raised up all the way to the height you want them at the base level here, now is always a good time to go ahead and punch in the windows wherever you want those to be and kind of decide how tall you want them to be. So I think on the bottom here I punched in a couple of windows there, and these can kind of depend on how your exterior is. It looks like I've got this one in the wrong spot here. So you know, a lot of times there's a little bit of fine tuning and finagling that goes into this. But then we'll go ahead and like decide we want a window there. If you think maybe, oh, some of these textures are mixed up, just go ahead and swap out different blocks to make it look a little bit nicer if some of your randomization wasn't all that great the first time around. And usually these windows are definitely better to pick from the outside. As you can see from this one, I didn't put a lot of windows on this side because half of this side of the building was underground. So that might make a little bit of a difference on where you decide to put your windows at. Then from here, I decided I was going to rim the edge of this entire first floor here with some of this smooth stone, and that was going to get kind of the overlapping foundation for the next layer here, where I decided to go a little bit wider with the second layer on top, once again just to add a little bit of extra depth around the exterior of the build. And then I just decided that all these pillars that I had built the first layer of the building were going to extend through the remainder of the building to kind of show that structural support throughout the entirety of the height of the building. Once I had all the pillars extended up there, basically we're going and doing the same thing I did with the bottom floor, just with these other 3 blocks. So on the bottom floor, we kind of only had 2 different blocks to choose from. Now we're doing the same thing along this layer, but with these 3 different white variations. So same thing going through around the whole exterior. I like to kind of go in layers with these. I find it to be a little bit simpler, and you know, don't be afraid to put a couple of the same ones in different spots and just experiment. You can always go back and change these if they don't fit that well the first time around, and swap them out for other blocks that maybe fit a little bit better. But just going through layer by layer and randomly placing in the chosen blocks for the next layer of the wall. Once again, once we got the next layer all finished up, perfect time to come through and punch out our windows now. Similar to the last one, I think it's good to do these from the outside. And with these ones, I had a little bit of back and forth, so I decided to do one big window on the front here because on my survival world, that's where this window is facing our spawn area there. So I don't remember actually which height. Yeah, we got that on that height there. And then these ended up going a little bit taller later in the future. But then I decided like here I think was going to be a window. Here we were going to do a window. And then we ended up having a doorway on this side here. And a couple other windows in various areas. It doesn't really matter you know, exactly where these are. Just kind of go with whatever looks nice. And then once again, if you have little spots around the walls where, you know, maybe like here, I think this should be one of these guys instead, depending on how it looks. Once you break out some of your windows and stuff, you can kind of play around with the placement of those different types of things. Once we got all the walls done there, we're starting to get pretty close with taking some decent shape here and kind of getting a good idea for what everything's starting to look like. And then it's time to go ahead and build the roof. We're going to go ahead and throw together this little roof design I actually found from another YouTuber by the name of Brookella, I believe is how you pronounce her channel. I could put a link in the description as well if you want to go check out her video on how she created this roof design with the alternating slabs with full blocks. So that's something that I got inspiration from her on, and I think it was a really cool idea. So we just went ahead all the way up here doing the stripped logs. These are the warp stems. You could do this with a lot of different logs and color combinations if you wanted to choose different colors other than ones that I've used here. But we just done this alternating log and stair combo all the way to a point on both sides, and then after we got that finished up, I started to make some other modifications to get everything looking nice and pretty. Also, something worth mentioning, as I was going ahead and building the roof section here, I did decide to go ahead and overhang this by 1 block on the outside, because I think it adds a little bit of extra depth to it. You know, really one of the biggest things when building things that, you know, look nice in Minecraft, the depth and the texture really has a lot to do with it. So, you know, trying to add as much depth as you can in different areas where you've got overhangs and overlaps and multiple different sections like this, where you know there's ins and outs and ups and downs and all that kind of good stuff, helps out with the decorative design and making things look a little bit more detailed and a little bit nicer. So after I got the roof all finished up and built this all the way to the peak, that's where I started to notice that these pillars would look a lot nicer if they were going all the way through the roof here to kind of stick out the top and give a little bit more texture to the top of the roof and show that support coming all the way through the entirety of the build. So that's where I made a little change along the way and decided to poke these pieces through the roof. And you know, I think that's a lot of what helps make everything look a lot nicer, is, you know, making those little adjustments along the way. Similarly here, you know, after we got the roof on and finished this wall all the way up to the top here, I decided to make these lower windows a little bit taller, so we had them 3 high, and then adding, you know, a big tall window up at the top there as well. And then we kind of just blended these corners together, brought this smaller peak into the big peak here, and then all the way around, like I said, extending these pillars through the top of the roof and adding these little caps to them, I think was a nice little adjustment that added a lot of extra detail. Then once I got the roof all built, I went ahead and went around the rest of the building here and started doing some little detailing, and this stuff kind of took a while to, you know, figure everything out and get the right idea. But eventually I came up with a little design here where I added some stairs and slabs on each one of these windows, and then along the bottoms here I went ahead and did trap doors like this, iron trap doors along the bottom, with these chains from the top to the bottom to kind of show a little bit of support here. Maybe, you know, the windowsill is kind of being held up a little bit by the top support here, and then I also added some lanterns and things around from different parts of the building here. We hung some of these soul lanterns down just to give kind of that cool feel, sort of match the vibe, and doing some varying heights with different chains, and then adding some glass panes along in the windows. Once again, doing a little bit of color variation with that in order to get kind of that extra feel. And it took probably only like about an hour to do the main structure of this whole building, but probably took me about 6 or 7 hours to do all the little detailing work. And, you know, honestly, it's just a lot of back and forth and trying to decide, you know, what it is works and what doesn't work, and a lot of placing blocks, breaking blocks, and just trying different things. You know, these little areas on the edges of the roof took me quite a while to figure out how to, you know, wrap these edges around and blend them in, placing different stairs and breaking those quite a bit. And then, you know, same thing with the windows and stuff down here, choosing some different blocks to try to add in a little bit of different texture in, you know, the entryways here originally were kind of short as well, but I just decided to extend those out a little bit so that I could put in a lantern on each one of those. And, you know, after many hours of placing and breaking blocks, I think it turned out to be pretty nice. So hopefully that is a little bit helpful for you guys to kind of show the process of how I decorated and built this building. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on the inside of here with the interior design, but I don't need to cover all that in this video here, just to give a little bit of an overview of the exterior building, my thought process on how things go when I'm doing buildings like this. So hopefully you guys did enjoy that. I do appreciate you coming to hang out with me for this video, and hopefully you will join me again in the future for more tutorials. And check out the Cozy Crabbin Minecraft server. It is absolutely free to join, and you could join in with me and build some cool things right alongside and hang out with the others and have a really good time. So thank you guys so much again for watching. I appreciate your time, and hopefully you have a wonderful day.